A schoolboy saved a little orphan bear cub. He took him home, raised and fed him. But after a few years, something happened that will shock you. Lucas was walking home along the same path he always took. It was a cool autumn evening, the wind sweeping golden leaves across the ground as the sun dipped toward the horizon. The forest was quiet, broken only by the occasional caw of crows. He knew these woods like the back of his hand, but something felt different today. At first he heard a faint whimper, then he noticed movement beneath a fallen tree. As he stepped closer, his heart clenched. A tiny bear cub lay there. Its fur was dirty, its nose wet, and its eyes gleamed with fear in the fading sunlight. The cub shivered, letting out weak cries as if calling for a mother who would never return. Lucas looked around. No signs of a mother bear, no signs of danger. Something must have happened. Poachers maybe, or a predator. He knew taking in a wild animal was a bad idea, but leaving it here, even worse. The cub locked eyes with him, and in that moment, Lucas knew he had no choice. That's how Bruno came into his life. From the very start, it was clear. This wouldn't be easy. Lucas brought Bruno home, made a bed of old blankets in the shed, and poured some milk into a bowl. But the cub refused to eat. He was scared, crying through the night, calling for his mother. "Come on, little guy, you have to eat," Lucas pleaded. It took a couple of days, but eventually Bruno started eating. And once he started, he never seemed to stop. He ate everything he could find: bread, vegetables, even an old sock someone had left in the shed. Lucas's parents were horrified. "Have you lost your mind?" his mother cried. "That's a wild animal." "I couldn't just leave him, Mom." His father examined the cub in silence, scratching his chin before sighing. "Well, since he's here, we're responsible for him." Bruno grew fast, very fast. At first, he was no bigger than a puppy. A few months later, he was the size of a large dog. Then one morning, Lucas woke up to find that Bruno no longer fit inside the shed. "We need to let him go," his mother insisted again. But Lucas couldn't. They had become best friends. Bruno wasn't just an eater, he was a troublemaker. One day he managed to open the kitchen door and steal an entire pot of porridge from the table. "Do you have any idea how long I cooked that?" his mother yelled. Bruno sat in the corner, looking guilty, his nose buried in his paws. But then Lucas noticed something. The porridge was smeared all over Bruno's face. "Bruno," Lucas started. The bear tilted his head. "Do you even realize how ridiculous you look?" Lucas couldn't hold back his laughter. Bruno suddenly stood on his hind legs and started hopping as if he were laughing too. Within minutes, the whole family was laughing along with him. Yes, Bruno caused trouble, but he also brought joy. Lucas trained him like a dog. Bruno learned to sit, to stay, even to bring Lucas things he found in the woods. Feathers, mushrooms, once even an old boot. But the bigger he grew, the more worried Lucas's father became. "He's getting too big," his father said one evening. "He won't be able to stay here forever." Lucas knew his father was right. 2 years passed. Bruno had grown into a massive, powerful bear. But he was still the same playful companion Lucas had rescued that day in the woods. Yet their village could no longer be his home. People were afraid of him. The neighbors whispered, worried. Some weren't happy about a bear roaming the yard. Lucas understood. It was time. They drove deep into the forest, farther than Lucas had ever gone before. When Lucas opened the cage, Bruno didn't move. He just looked at Lucas as if asking, "Why?" "Go on, buddy. You're free now." Bruno hesitated. Then he took a step back, another, and disappeared into the trees. Lucas walked home, forcing himself not to look back. 5 years passed. Lucas grew up, left for the city. Life carried him away. University, work, the endless rush of adulthood. But one day he had to return. His father had fallen ill, and Lucas came back to help. The old forest remained the same. He decided to take a walk down a familiar trail. As he walked, lost in memories, something moved ahead of him. He froze. A massive bear emerged from the bushes. Lucas stopped in his tracks. The beast stared at him, and then took a step forward. Lucas was ready to run, but the bear didn't attack. Instead, he lowered his head and let out a deep, rumbling sound. Not a growl, but something softer. That sound. Bruno! The bear stepped closer. Lucas couldn't believe it. It was him. The giant creature rose onto his hind legs and suddenly licked Lucas's cheek, just like he used to all those years ago. Some bonds never break, not even after all the years that pass.